last night was different, and different in a good way. Like, I live in a bubble. I remember one time my mom made an off the cuff comment about how I had organized my life so that I had maximum control. And that cut. And it was funny, but only because it was true. I am in a bubble of my own making, as I think we all are. I have to make conscious decisions to get out of my bubble, to get out of my comfort zone. I think we all make our own bubbles for whatever reason. I know for me, it's safety, afraid of fear and rejection and being hurt, whether physically or emotionally. So I keep my circle somewhat small, and I have my friends who I trust, who I know love and support me. But still, we all have to make conscious decisions to get out of our bubble. And last night, I did that. So I was invited to a storytelling group last week by a new friend of mine. And the admin of the group posts calling for actors for reading time. And by reading time and storytelling time and all that, I do mean actors and writers getting together to hear their scripts read and read scripts and sometimes hearing them read for the very first time. So I get an email a few days later confirming me for the storytelling session last night. Now, the email contains a script for a pilot, and I'm excited. It's for a lead, which is always fun and simultaneously terrifying because as a writer, I know that writing a lead is pouring your soul into a character. This person, this character, came to you from the ether. And whether you admit it or not, you're pouring some of the most vulnerable pieces of you into this character. Otherwise, you'd be writing about another character or something else. So, anyways, all happy. Yay, gonna get a chance to act again, which has been nice, and I've started to treat Zoom sessions as good practice for taping auditions because the same principles apply. Limited space to tell a story right here without using props or making it seem gimmicky while also keeping it natural. Great time to practice on that. While you've got also a great time to practice cold reads because if you are like me, you forget to read it even though you got the script a little bit while ago. And you're reading it sometimes you're reading material for the first time, so it really hones in on your cold read and trusting your instincts as you begin to discover a character. I can take a sip of coffee now. Because I remember I've done this little thing where I've been transitioning, and not just also socially, but also my name and my acting career and all that. So now on Facebook, instead of saying Patrick Morgan, it says Ava Davis. And I posted in the comments when there was a call for actors of being able to play the age range between 20 and 40. Don't laugh. So I'm being cast for the female parts. And then the anxiety and fear set in. I mean, look, the dream ideal is to audition for cis female parts and get them. But, I mean, it's hard enough as a black actor to convince the industry to just cast us in casual parts that have nothing to do with race. So the trans cis guys can be huge. Which is why I suddenly realized that not only do I talk with my hands a lot as I look at myself, but also I realized this would be my first time acting in a cis female role outside of my bubble. The bubble. My special bubble of self protection I've built for myself, and even claim myself as Duchess of my own bubble and given it a geographic area and everything. I stepped outside of the duchy. And sure, I'm used to being cast as whomever when I'm reading with my friends who are lucky enough to also be actors and writers, and honestly, I just feel so at ease around them I don't consciously think about gender because we're all more than that to each other. But this was a new group with new people. Some acquaintances I've seen a couple of times, but that was in the before times before all of this happened. And I was cast as a cis female. Actually, my anxiety doubled when I was emailed and he asked if I could do another script as well that night. Also another lead, but luckily that was a comedy. Did not know that at the time. So I've already detailed to you all about how I handle anxiety. And luckily I did not end up in a ball on the floor sobbing my guts out. It's just Zoom, so there's no need to cry and sob. Just drink a glass of wine. However, that's what I did, and not only that, but I was incredibly quiet when I got into the Zoom room. Number one, because everyone, I feel like, already knew each other, and I kind of felt like an outsider. And not just being new to the group, but also all of this going on. It's just one of those things that comes with transitioning and a lot of anxiety and how we be received. And number two, how they, especially the writers, would react to me reading these roles that they've written, they've poured parts of themselves into, and then there's me. Then, I mean, it's not like I'm being cast or anything, it's just a reading, but still. So, will I describe to you all what happens in my creative process where I have a panic attack? I don't think I've described how I recover. After I let my emotions have their peace, I still use my hand a lot. Anyways, I then remind myself that I'm also having an ego attack because it's not about me. It's about the work and to keep the focus there. If I'm doing scenes, that means giving my scene partner all of my attention instead of getting inside my head. If I'm doing a monologue, that means giving my character, well, always giving my character all of my attention instead of focusing on me. And if I find myself slipping, listen. Literally just listen, because anyways, that's the one piece of advice I've heard consistently from every casting director tell at every panel, discussion, email, piece of advice, whatever. Just listen more. When I'm on stage and I get nervous, I just listen. Like I give my scene partner all of my attention, and it immediately takes me out of myself. And that is something active I can do, and so I try and do it. Even if I'm not on stage, I'm meeting somebody for the first time, and there's that natural anxiety. I try and listen and take the attention off of me. Now, that skill I did learn growing up being a military brat, and everyone wants to ask you 20,000 questions on whatever, and I never really know what's going on. Everyone wants to ask you 20 million questions about you, but of course, they're new people, and you're anxious, so you turn the script and you're just like, tell me more about you and listen while my nerves calm down. Anyways, I try and listen every time, and usually it works. I listen to the pre-reading chatter in the Zoom room while I finally read through the script, and it was a really well-written script that I cannot wait to hear more of. And then we began, and I listened to the person reading stage directions, and then I listened to my scene partners, and it worked, as it usually does. My nerves faded as I locked in for the ride, and I just reminded myself to breathe and to listen and to do the work justice and give it the honor it deserves. You see, art for me is a very spiritual thing, acting included, so this is my way of showing my respect and devotion to this craft, because I feel, especially with the performance arts, you're asking a lot of time and attention from other people, and it's best to respect that. So, and then 2 hours later it was over, and it was one of the best experiences of my life, and I felt accomplished and like I'd overcome something, which I kind of did. It was a seemingly small victory, but my victory nonetheless. The kind I'd go and tell my therapist about, and he'd be proud of me, and we'd celebrate together. I think all of our lives are made up of these tiny victories. We should probably take the time to celebrate more, whether it's making that first appointment with a therapist or reacting with empathy and kindness when anger was the very easy option in traffic, handling customers, whoever, or other small examples. And as my therapist told me, go ahead and give yourself a hug. Oh, that's how I do it in therapy. And then give yourself a pat on the back, and then, give yourself another hug. Yeah. Celebrate your successes. When I do it like that, he gets mad and he's like, no, give yourself a real hug. So it's just the tape that's playing now instead of the old tapes of beating myself up. So anyways, that's all that we really have, is just celebrating small victory. And I can't remember if I told you about celebrating the victory of my hairstylist, who, when I saw her for the first time last week after not seeing her literally for over 6 months. So number one, we celebrated with that fact. And then not only that, but halfway into quarantine, she posts about how she's finally launching her hair care product line, and I am so happy for Rena. Alluring Hair by Rena. She's talked about this product line for years, and she did it, and there's a product, and I am so happy for her. Like, genuinely happy. And my cousin launching her food service catering business. I am so happy for her because I love celebrating the successes of people that I know. I feel like it lifts the tide of us all. I'm happy for y'all. I really am. So, that's all I have for today. Until next time, keep bearing the lightness of being. And I don't know if I'm going to keep saying that because that feels incredibly cheesy, so at some point we may tune it out, but what have you. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your day. I love you.